And welcome to the podcast, Appetite for Distortion, episode number 261. My name is Brando. Thanks for joining. This is another Zoom episode. So if you're a subscriber on YouTube, you get to see many beautiful faces on the screen right now. I'm not just talking about mine, not my ego.
This
First,
one, this one is the beautiful one. This one. Mm.
I was gonna, I guess, introduce Ginger Wildheart first, but I think I have to introduce. What is your dog's name? Forgive me.
Maggie.
Maggie. Maggie. Where did she get her name from?
She from my favorite character in a comic book called Love and Rockets. It was like a kind of one of those first graphic novel kind of things. It was by a guy called Jamie Hernandez, and it was about two girls called Maggie and Hopi, and Maggie was my favorite.
Okay, I like it. I like how there's a backstory to it because it's
Look at
funny.
this. This is the color English people go when we hit the sun.
I don't know. I'm my Polish Jewish complexion. I burn quite easily as well. Oh, no, Maggie. Hopefully, she'll make an appearance because we were saying off the air beforehand. Should we do this on camera? Well, we got a Maggie appearance. Usually, my
See,
listeners see my cats at times, but the other face, in addition to Maggie and of course Ginger Wildheart, thank you first and foremost for making some time today to speak with me.
my pleasure, and Jane as well.
Hi.
And Jane,
I'll
I didn't know if
here if needed.
I didn't know if I should introduce Jane. Who, thank you for helping coordinate all this. So thank you, Jane.
Jane is the muscle and the brains from Round Records. So if anyone out there has bought anything from Round Records, Jane is the person that you get to speak to. We're one of those rare companies that give you a human being to speak to and sort out your problems. No automated services with Round Records. Oh no.
Very nice. Well, Jane, I appreciate your professionalism in helping me coordinate this interview with
You're more than
Ginger.
welcome.
Because I guess this is a perfect segue. Because Ginger, I'm being honest with you. I think you, as much as any other person I've had a request for to be a guest, you're up there. I had a lot of people request you to come on the show.
Jane was telling me that you've had D. Snyder on the show.
Yes, I was very lucky to have D on the show. He's
Yeah. Yeah, Dee's one of my favorite and one of the best frontmen of all time, and he doesn't get nearly enough credit. People always look at people like Axl Rose and stuff as like, classic frontmen, but I think Dee Snider was like, you know, as good as anyone, really, as good as I'm trying to think who else is there. Bon Scott, Robert Plant,
Yeah.
wow.
Dee Snider's up there, yeah.
You know what? And before we pivot, I want to agree with you in a way because I think he proved a lot, especially with his metal records,
Yeah.
what he did in Broadway, showing his range. So more D Snyder. I'm with you there. But to keep on the fan request that I got for you, I will ask you questions, fan submitted questions, yes. But sometimes I want to bring them on the show. I don't want to be the only lucky one to have the opportunity to speak with Jane and Ginger. I wanted
Ginger.
Erik Peecher, and you're in Ohio right now. Is that where you're zooming in from?
Actually, I'm in Iowa.
Iowa. I got my
Yes,
eyes
sir.
confused. I got
Yep.
confused.
Hello there, Eric. It
Hey,
is Eric,
Ginger.
right?
Hey, Jane.
Hi, Erik.
Hey, so good to see you and talk to you.
I don't know much about Ohio apart from the Neil Young song, and also I think the Jayhawks have got a song about Ohio. I think the Jayhawks is less political, but don't know much about Ohio, and I'd love to come. And I probably have already been when we did the Darkness tour. I've probably already been, but there's a lot of missing time on that tour.
Yeah, it's actually Iowa. Iowa's the one with the corn.
Yeah. One day, if you just invite us, if everyone watching out in Ohio invites us to come over, then
Iowa.
we will.
Iowa, yeah.
You know what? I think it's the same thing. Like as a New
It is.
Yorker, I'm like, it's all Midwest, and that's such a New York attitude. I know. I'm sure everyone in Iowa right now is like, oh my god. But the reason why I had Erik on is because he was one of the many fans who requested that you come on and give him this opportunity. So obviously, in addition to being a
Thank you,
diehard
Erik.
Guns N'
Yeah,
Roses,
no worries.
he's a huge Ginger Wildheart fan. So he's going to ask you some questions. But before we go off on a tangent or anything else, the most important thing, and it was actually just announced, so this is perfect timing to speak with you. Can you tell us about the new record that was just so 21st Century Love Songs, and it's coming out in early September. So tell us everything that came along with this new announcement and highly anticipated new album.
It seems to be popular. It seems to be selling out of every pressing that we're doing. I think our the Wildheart record label, which isn't Round Records, it's Graphite Records, completely different thing. Is I think they're a bit surprised, not just by the band but by the fans, how dedicated and positive our fan base are, unless they're complaining, by which case they're some of the most complaining motherfuckers in the world. But for the most part, they're great, and they're very spirited. So if you put down a red, well, for example, the red vinyl that was printed is already gone within the day that it came out.
Within a few hours.
Within a few hours.
Wow.
So yeah, it's already looking good. But it's, for me, the last album, which was called Renaissance Men, or Renaissance Men, however you pronounce it, both are correct pronunciations.
Okay.
That was more of a kind of spit and sawdust album. We didn't know, how it was going to perform. We didn't know how the critics were going to, it was the first album we did in 10 years. So we didn't know how the critics were going to receive it. And it surprised everyone, us included. This next one is a bit like, okay, now that people like us again, let's give them something interesting. And it's very, very
experimental.
Yeah, but not experimental, because I mean, I was just listening to a band called The Armed, and they're experimental. So we have a very traditional structures to songs. There's just lots and lots of traditional structures in the same song. So they're very interesting tracks. And I can't wait for everyone to tell me what they think of it. And there's a great American artist called Frederick Cooper. Go and look at him, Frederick Cooper dot whatever. And he's amazing. And all the artwork that he does, which blew my mind why I wanted to do the cover, is done with pencils. And it looks like, computer drawing or spray paint. One of the more intricate and shiny looking art forms. And it is amazing. And then we've got a guy called Colm from Creepy Duck Designs. That's right, isn't it? Creepy Duck Designs, and he turned it into a movie poster. So I love the cover. So I'm happy with it so far. And our friend Dave Draper, who Erik might recognize the name Dave Draper because he produces a lot of my solo stuff. He's producing it, and it sounds huge.
Can't wait to hear it. Like you were talking about that cover. I saw that online the other day. That thing is killer. Cannot wait to hear this one.
Oh, well, because the title of the album got out, and there was a bunch of people saying, "I don't like the title," or "It sounds like Green Day" or something.
Okay.
And I was like, "No, the title is sarcastic, and it works with the art form and the artwork." And now that people have seen the artwork, we haven't got any complaints about the title. It doesn't matter what it's called, as long as it's not called, Scream Bloody Gore or whatever. It's
Right.
It's something nice. We got a song Erik might know called "The Sweetest Song." I remember everyone saying, "Oh, I hate that title," but it's the least sweet song.
It wasn't the sweetest song.
It really wasn't, and it's part of the Wildheart sense of humor, and it's a rich track of British humor to be, everything's kind of sarcastic and slightly cynical, but aware that it's funny as well. So it's the tradition goes back to Monty Python and stuff like that. So
It's a classic tune.
It what?
Yeah.
Which one? Sweetest Song?
Yes, sir.
Oh my God. Yeah. Did you ever hear the radio edit that I did?
I have not. Do I want to?
Erik, did you ever hear the radio edit of Sweetest Song?
Yeah. So like, what's
No, I have not.
It's
It's just like a beep, beep,
we just
beep.
for a Joe, we thought we'd take all of the swear words in the song and put a bleep there, and it's just, you know, them kind of, well, I don't know who the artists are, but this female rap artist that is just disgusting all the way through, beautifully so, and it's great. It's just like some of my favorite. I don't know what I've got a strange sense of humor, and things like that make sense to me, not always to people that listen to my music.
Oh, I'm laughing. No, I like that.
Internally.
Because if you're
this kind of sense of humor is always met with a never out and out laughter.
yeah, I mean, and if someone doesn't get it, they don't belong in the club. They don't belong. You know, then I don't know. That's kind of how maybe it depends on like it's the reference, but you're being smart about it. I think that's why your fans have been so dedicated throughout the years.
Well, the album that this one, 21st Century Love Songs, reminds me of is the PHUQ, or at least the PHUQ Sessions, which is our second album, and everyone thought that was PHUQ. Everyone thought it said "fuck you," but it doesn't say "fuck you" because if you take away the Q after the U after the Q, it negates the pronunciation, so it's a K. And I think everyone just thought there's no way that a heavy punk band would have that much lyrical nous. So yeah, it's we're used to doing things and people not laughing at all.
I've been there too, thinking something's funny and being like, "Oh, I usually would have a cricket button queued up, but I don't have that at the moment."
I've just been introduced to the what's the guy called again? Erik what?
Andre?
Yeah, Erik Andre, and that's a similar thing where it's not really funny, but it's brilliant. I'm not saying brilliant, but yeah, a plenty of humor.
I'm more of a Tom Green guy than Erik Andre, but I know what you're talking about.
What was the Freddie?
Old school.
Freddie got fingered. Oh man!
Been on the podcast because he went to a Guns N' Roses show once. That was my excuse to get him on the podcast to interview Tom Green.
That was amazing, that movie. The amount of people I used to show that movie to, and they'd be like, "Why do you like this?" Because you don't like it. That's one of the reasons.
Erik, did you ever think you'd be talking about Freddie Got Fingered with Ginger Wildheart?
No, I sure never did think that. No.
Before this gets lost, because it's another listener, a loyal listener of mine who really was excited that you're coming on, Mr. Mac, who's from the UK. And obviously, as I just mentioned, the reason why I got Tom Green on the show, I used that 6 degrees of GNR bacon. So you have some connections to the GNR, but I want to make sure I get his questions out. And because it's amazing that you're so popular and you're fighting through all of this, through all the lineup changes, I guess, that GNR has had. So I guess what he is asking, what Mr. Mack is asking, how do you, in regards to coping with changes to bandmates, like how does it affect you as a frontman and a songwriter, perhaps in this new record, and the overall performance of the band throughout the course of the changes?
Well, I've played with a lot of different musicians, and although you can all, something good happens if you get good musicians together. It's not always magic. And there's something about the lineup of the Wildhearts, me, CJ, Rich, and Danny, that is magic. And I was playing a lot of years with different lineups and doing different projects. I didn't even know how magic that was. I mean, you don't when you're young and you're starting out and it's your first kind of band that makes an album and stuff like that, which was how it was for me. I was, it was my first album, Earth versus the Wildhearts, and I didn't really know what we had. And then doing Renaissance Men, it turned me into a fan of the band a bit, So it definitely helps writing as well, because I know what we're going to play well, and I know what we're not going to play well. So I wouldn't, there's things that, for example, John Poole, who Erik might know as one of the bass players of my solo stuff, is probably the greatest bass player that anyone knows. But it doesn't sound as animalistic as Danny. So it's if you're paying attention, different lineups can not only are they different, they inspire your writing. The Wildhearts are inspiring my writing. It's great to know that it's like being married or something, but it's great to know that I can approach him with a bunch of stuff and it's all going to sound great because it does in my head. So that's the difference.
Okay, because his follow up, and I
Oh,
have
sunburn. Look at that, Jesus!
I don't know. I think you look,
Hey, once here.
A few hot days.
I think you're being you look handsome. You look good. And I don't think you look as
I
flushy.
don't look handsome, but look.
And I guess this kind of parlays into the next his follow up question, because with Guns N' Roses, obviously there were lineup changes, and we'll ask about, I don't know, Eric, this was on your docket to ask about the Choir Boys, but that was the GNR lineup with Izzy Stradlin, who hasn't been in the band for quite some time. But he says that you did because I didn't realize this, that you did a short tour with Izzy when he was with, yeah, and he says I remember the Krang magazine saying Izzy's struggling because apparently you were too good on that tour.
No one knows what it was. Our merchandise, people thought it was because we sold more merchandise. Our fans think it was because we were better. I still don't know why it didn't happen. But I do know that when I was a kid, growing up with bands like Cheap Trick, the best thing about Cheap Trick was they'd get kicked off tours for just being great and popular. And we were, when we did the Izzy Stradlin tour, we were just about on our first ascension. So we had loads and loads of people, not just supporting the band, but interested in the group as well. And what we were doing was like so, fast and aggressive and frenetic. And he was doing basically kind of, laid back, bluesy kind of rock and roll. I know the bass player from that band, from that lineup, Jimmy Ashurst.
Sure, he's been on.
Very well. He's one of my absolute favorite human beings. And he says it was because we were headbanging in the sound check, which has never ever happened. And I've found anyone in the band
Never happened.
who would do that, but definitely not us. And so I still don't know why it was why we got kicked off. But we got kicked off the one show, which I took at the time to be like, or to bucket list kind of request to be kicked off a tour.
I've never thought about that. I didn't know that about Cheap Trick. That's kind of what they were famous for, being kicked off tours because they were too good. So I like that outlook. That's a very positive outlook.
Yeah. It's the best thing that can happen to you when you're a young band, doing the right.
Would depress me though. I would feel like I'm on tour with Izzy and he's kicking me off. I don't know. Then again, I'm in therapy. I have a different mindset than you.
Go fix that.
That's all right. Yeah. See, I have the same thing sometimes with as if you're watching on Zoom, their blanket is falling down on the back of their couch, and I do the same thing. I think mine's right behind me. I get tired of it.
Makes me look more royal.
That's true. It's true.
Representing for the death of Prince Philip. There you go.
Okay. Well, now you actually, since it's tiger print, you look like you're in Coming to America.
Yeah.
Right. What do you think of that second movie?
I haven't seen it. I've heard nothing but bad things. Rather,
it's not very popular.
Yeah.
It's because the first one was so ridiculously popular, but I haven't heard anyone say it's good. But then again, people said Anchorman 2 wasn't good, and I thought that was amazing.
It took me a couple watches. I didn't like it the first time. The second time, I was like, you know what? It's a lot funnier than I remember.
Yeah.
I got you.
What a cast! You couldn't get that many people together for it not to be good. But I think one of the things is James Earl Jones is really old in the second one, so it doesn't really work.
Sure. I don't know. Eric, did you ever think you would be talking about Anchorman 2 with Ginger Wildheart?
No, I didn't. Honestly, I didn't know that the second Coming to America was out either.
Oh wow! I don't know how you missed. That was promoted everywhere. It was, basically, God himself was shouting it down. But yeah.
Sounds like it was no better than Borat's second one.
Oh, you didn't like Borat?
Weird, isn't it?
I love Borat.
Oh, I love the second one.
But he can't. Well, the whole thing about somebody Borat is that he's fooling people into thinking it's a serious thing. And then when the first movie's huge, presumably there's no one left to fool. So kind of
He does it. Just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Erik, what questions do you? Because I know you're the diehard, and I have you here. So I know you were working very hard on notes and.
Yeah.
Here?
I did want to know how much of your stuff on the Brides of Destruction made it to the record, and what happened with that? I mean, I remember you were part of that project, and I was kind of disappointed when they said that you were moved on from it. The one with Tracy Guns and Nikki Sixx.
Well, Nikki Sixx wasn't in the band when I talked my way into the group. The Wildheart had broken up. It was after the Must Be Destroyed tour with the Darkness and stuff, and the lineup was just the Wildheart's lineup just wasn't working. A lot of bad juju going on. So I was going to move to Australia and form a pub rock band like AC/DC and Rose Tattoo. And my good friend Scott Sorry had just got Nikki Sixx's place in the Brides, and I'm like, oh no, hang on a second. If I go over there, I can be in a band and, you know, have my friend in the group as well. And I didn't even consider for a second that, well, they don't want another guitar player. I just thought, yeah, but you do want me. And as I've done a few times in the past, I just talked my way into the job. And it was going great. It was going really well. And we were, you know, writing songs together and stuff. And until Tracy came in and just said, I've got a load of demos. This is the album. We're not going to do those songs. We're going to do these songs. And which is fair enough, but it's not it sounded like Iron Maiden. And I don't like Iron Maiden. I know Tracy does. So it just wasn't my thing at all. And then I'm forgetting how it worked out, but I think Tracy had said, you can't leave because I've got your autograph on contract. Obviously I didn't sign Ginger. I signed it, you know, fuck you or something, and it wouldn't have stood up in a court of law. But yeah, it was a good time. And then it was just a little bit, you know, breaking up can be fun, and it also can be like, it just brings out the worst in people. And you know, I think it kind of, you know, made everyone look a bit stupid for a while. But you know, that's, people do break up and life goes on. You don't die from it. Yeah, but the songs that we were writing didn't end up on the album anyway. So
okay.
We ended up with a bunch of songs about Lady Godiva and things.
Well, somewhere out there's an unfinished Brides of Destruction record that you took part in.
Oh.
I doubt it. It's coming up pretty good.
All right. Yeah. Well, I know sometimes my listeners are obsessed with like leaks and what may be out there, what may resurface at some point. But let's not. I don't want to focus too much on the old stuff. I will, before I do get back to, of course, the new album, 21st Century Love Songs. Do you have any nice stories, any fun stories from the choir boy days with Guns N' Roses? Anything that you can share without getting in trouble?
I love the idea of getting into trouble. Unfortunately, get into trouble, you know. No, I joined the choir boys actually to get into the Guns N' Roses show, because they had this big tour where it was Aerosmith headline and Guns N' Roses in the middle, and Faster Pussycat opening up, and then Aerosmith, it was around about after done with Mirrors, and they weren't getting on very well, so Guns N' Roses were pushed up to headliners. And I thought, I was in London at the time, and I was thinking, I've got to get into the show, and I don't know anyone yet. So I found out that Spike from the choir boys had a club in Wardour Street. So I went to his club and talked my way into the group, and got to see the gig. And I thought I was just going to leave then or something. I didn't think for a second I would stay with the choir boys. If you've heard the Wildhearts, we don't sound a lot like the choir boys. And the thing is, I always want to bring in like riffs and mix that kind of early 70s Faces sound with something a bit more fresh and aggressive. And they hated the idea. They always would dial the distortion down on my amp, and you know, they wanted people to sound exactly like early 70s records, which I never understood at all. I grew up with punk. I like the Faces, but I certainly don't want to sound. I think the Faces and the Beatles sound like that because it was before big powerful amps and big powerful riffs. post Motorhead, I just figured everybody wanted to sound bigger. And so I couldn't get the concept of sounding smaller. And it never worked on any level. And the official thing was I was kicked out for being too wild and partying too much, and I was the only person in that band, I think, that didn't end up in Betty Ford's. So it's water under the bridge, obviously. And I don't, to be honest, I wouldn't even think of anything like that unless I was asked about it.
Well, that's what I'm here for, I guess. The awkward times. Go ahead, Erik.
It's funny that he mentions the Betty Ford. Maybe, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago, you wrote this thing on your website, the 12 steps according to Ginger. And one of the things that stood with me was go through your record collection and see exactly how shitty it is. And you'll try to find other ways to spend your time and your money. It was pretty funny. I just remember that thing from 10, maybe 15 years ago, you wrote it.
I can't even figure out, because I'm so rubbish with any technology. I can't figure out how I was doing the internet in like 1998 or something. I mean, I was writing stuff for a website, for my own website, before a lot of people were into the internet. And I still find it weird that people, are you sure you're not confusing me with the other guy? Oh, that's a good one. I've got to tell you this one. When the Choir Boys came back from America, the guitar player for the Choir Boys, gloating in the fact that I was not in the band anymore, and was saying, what does it feel like to have everyone talk about this other band that are called the Wildhearts? And I was like, there's not another band called the Wildhearts. And he was like, yeah, the one that's in all the magazines. And I'm like, that's my band. We're in all the magazines. I think they couldn't envisage that, someone that they got rid of in the band would actually go on to do something. And whereas with the Wildhearts, anyone that's been in the Wildhearts, I'm just convinced they're going to go away and do something. That's it. I wish everyone the best, and not a lot of people, not everyone wishes everyone the best. I've got no time for all that crap, to be honest.
I'm with you on that. Even if I don't get along, I'm like, you know what? I wish you the best. I'll do. I'll continue on my path. Good luck, and that's it. Brilliant, because obviously your way of life and your philosophy has led you to such success that you're, this new record in freaking pandemic 2021. So, what would you say? 21st century love songs. What should fans be most excited for, or perhaps like maybe surprised by? Like, is there a hidden, is there like one thing you can't wait, like one specific thing that you can't wait to hear the response to?
No,
or a song, maybe like
well, sorry,
or maybe like not a specific song or a certain thing, or whether it's the content, the lyrics, like anything that you're, what, I can't wait until they hear that, or just the album.
What do people see in the cover? Because I'm a massive fan of the artist, but that's already out anyway. I mean, anyone who's followed the Wildhearts for a while knows that we don't like to do everything to the book, and we're very fond of cramming in a lot of ideas into one song. So I guess I'm looking forward to people seeing how ridiculous some of the songs are, but it's not going to be people that have followed the band aren't going to be surprised by that. I think they're more surprised if we don't cram songs full of loads of bits. But I think everyone knows what they're getting now. So if we tell them that it's a back to basics album, they kind of know what back to basics means in our history. And if I say it's fucking batshit mental, they know what those songs go like. I mean, there's the one song we were talking about, the Sweetest Song, was on an album that doesn't have a title, I don't think.
It's just called the Wild.
People call it
the White Album. Yeah.
And all of those songs were really, really long. I was listening to a lot of Mastodon, and I was wanting every song to be 10 minutes. So if I say to people, it's like the White Album, only the songs are 4 minutes, they still go, oh yeah, I know what you mean by that. I guess when you've been doing it for a while, you kind of you've got the luxury of not surprising anyone anymore. and I don't think anyone listens to our stuff and is surprised that it's good. So yeah, I can't wait for them to get it. I can't wait to get on fucking tour again. That's the main thing. I hope people around the world ask us to go to their countries. So countries that aren't as stupid as Britain. Come on, Tom.
Hey, Maggie's back. Right.
I'd like to tour again. Oh, 'cause every time she hears me swear, she thinks that I'm angry.
Yeah, she
Oh,
comes to make sure he's okay.
oh, I love it. I love it.
She's the best.
I'm allergic to dogs, but I'm also allergic to cats. And I said I have 3. So now weekly, I have to get a cat shot. So
Oh,
Oh
really?
no!
I,
Mm.
I've
Hopefully
been going on
Maggie's-
like half a year. Every week I get a shot so I can breathe and live with it.
Oh,
Oh,
It's
that's
my
all-
fault though. I hugged him and kissed him. It's like I bring it upon myself too a little bit.
oh.
Erik, I'm sorry you're not. I don't know if you're left out if you have no pets, but is there anything else you want you want to ask Ginger or possibly Jane while they're here?
Maggie.
Oh, Maggie, yeah.
Or Maggie? Yes, I know. I shared. You got to teach her a trick. I shared. I got to remember. It was somebody on TikTok. They have one of their cats, and whenever he would kind of crate him as a baby, and then whenever he would like pull him into his body, the cat would just meow, and he would do this to songs. So he did this to sweet
Oh.
child of mine and be like, and I don't want to sing. I'm horrendous, but he would sing a lyric and then pull the cat in, and the cat would go meow, like at the where it would say "sweet child of mine," you know. So I got to find that. So yeah, if you follow my social media, I gave the guy credit on TikTok, but it's pretty brilliant. So you got to teach Maggie to be.
Well, she
a
does
TikTok
howl,
lady.
doesn't she?
She does howl when she's happy. She howls, and usually because I have another place that I live in as well, that only me and Maggie live in. And when I'm writing new songs for the Wildheart, she thinks I'm upset because I'm shouting. So she tends to try and nudge the guitar out of my hand and say, "It's got to be that thing." Like,
It's upsetting him.
yeah, and she hates my phone and she hates my laptop because she just associates with. He's always shouting when he goes on that thing, and he never shouts when I lick him like this. So,
Oh, that's funny. And
uh,
it's magic anytime on TikTok. Clearly, I looked at this person's profile. I'm not on TikTok, but once I saw this, I had to look at it. It was somebody who started out their profile as just like basic magic tricks, and then brought their cat into it, and just
Wow.
you could see when he decided to change his mind of like, okay, now this TikTok is just all about my cat and singing. Like, I don't know, you can kind of like gradually see when he, you know what, this magic thing is not working out anymore. Well, let's just use the cat, and so that's why it's magic anytime. Anyway, short pointless story. Erik,
but
give me
whenever I put a picture of Maggie up on Instagram, I get twice as many.
exactly.
Likes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Maggie has her own TikTok.
I know, no, she really should have her own something or other,
Yeah.
just so I can make some fucking money off her.
The next album cover.
No, oh, I was going
Wow.
to say she's not on the album, is she?
No,
She's not on the
on
new album.
an album cover, though, isn't she, dear?
Oh yeah, she is actually on the cover. I was going to say that she's not on the new Wildheart's album, but David Bowie is. I don't know how much trouble we're going to get in by saying that.
David
But,
Bowie.
yeah, David Bowie's on the new record.
Oh, okay. I like that.
We'll leave it there before I know.
And Maggie does star on the cover of another album.
Yeah, I've got another group that are doing really well at the moment called Ginger Wildheart and the Sinners, and that's more kind of my love of country as well as like the Scorchers and Long Riders, Georgia Satellites, Lone Justice, bands like that. And Maggie's on the cover of that one, giving me a big kiss. The whole band's around. There's a picture of the group, and she's there giving me a kiss. So I'm sure that one's going to do great business everywhere because there's a dog on the front.
We got it. Yeah, Maggie's the star. Clearly. Erik, I'm sure. I don't know if you know Maggie was going to be on the show, so I know you have no dog related questions. But anything else left on your itinerary before we let them all go?
I can't think of anything.
All right.
Just, excited to hear the album, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, I can't wait for you to hear it. It's if you're a Wildhearts fan, you're going to love it. I say that with probably what sounds like a bit of bravado, but I do I do think it's really good. The band play great. The songs are very interesting.
Production's brilliant.
The production's great, and it's just got enough that
Mhm.
to put us in a place that no one's occupying anymore. It's a place where Motorhead were and Slayer were, and even Status Quo. And I think that's the size hole that the Wildhearts fit in as far as support from the public. So I think this album could do us a lot of good, especially in the States.
Sure. September 3rd, Graphite Records, 21st Century Love Songs, Ginger Wildheart. Thank you so much for your time. You were awesome.
Get me back on in September because the white will have come back to my face.
Could be having a late summer, you know.
Yeah, and I'll let you know how the album actually is doing.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Ginger.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Jenny.
Bye-bye.
So there they go. My shitty video editing, or just pausing the Zoom and letting them go. But that was fun, man.
That was amazing. He's great.
He really is.
Yeah.
I have to admit, because I'm not the diehard. I didn't know. I feel like you know, maybe you're an anomaly, because I feel like Ginger, he is a bigger name in the UK than in the US. And I just think because whatever. I mean, Guns N' Roses broke first in the UK before they broke in the US, according to Doug Goldstein. So the US has something wrong with them when it comes to music.
Oh, definitely.
But obviously you're in the States and you're a Ginger fan, but I felt like I had to learn about him like a lot more. I didn't know, I knew him of him, but obviously doing the research and talking to him, it's like, wow, you did this, you like that happened. And so I'm really looking forward to having him back in September and maybe having you back on, Erik.
That'd be great. And then I know you saw that he did the live stream on Saturday. The Wildhearts did that stream on Saturday, and I know you and I saw it and talked about Del James had watched it and said how amazing that was.
Right? That was cool to see Del James retweet that. So there's more of the 6 degrees of GNR Bacon. Then Del's a good follow. Still, I think he's just too close to Mother Goose for me to ever interview him. But
probably
I would just talk about horror movies with him, like or like the Knicks and John. We would have such a good conversation.
Sure.
Del. But anyway.
he definitely loves sports and horror movies. So.
But whatever, that's another, that may never happen. I'm here with Erik. Right. That's more important. So Erik, let's do some. I don't have the sound queued up right now, or at least on the Zoom portion of it. But for Fan Obsession, so obviously, you know, you're a big Guns N' Roses fan, and I don't even need to say that because if you're watching on Zoom, much like me, you have a great setup in your back. So like, what posters do you have on your wall? I see a lithograph and.
There's a Lincoln 2019, Kansas City 2016, Miami 2020, and Denver 2017.
So you were
a couple others floating around, but
I was wondering if the one I could see in the back was the Miami 2020, because that's what that was the show with Snoop, right?
Yeah.
How was that show? I mean, you can't.
It was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say. So you obviously are accustomed to traveling to see this band.
Sure. Yep.
How many times have you seen them in total?
6 now. Yeah. The first time being 91, it was in Denver, and I think it was 2 shows after the St. Louis riot. So that one was quite interesting. Of course, you know, they came on late and Skid Row played their great set. Came on a little bit late, and you know, Axl stops it during Dust and Bones to kick some guy out for flipping him off. It was everything that you hoped.
That's something I will always be jealous of. You know, I wish I had a time machine. Yes, the fact that I get to see Guns N' Roses or Slash and Axl on stage, I got to finally see that, of course, pre-pandemic, because I'm just too young.
Right.
81, I would have been 8. You know?
Yeah.
It sucks. You know, my first concert, and I still love my parents for it, was the Ninja Turtles coming out of their Shells tour at Radio City Music Hall. So that was more up my alley than a dangerous I never got to experience the danger, but
Yeah.
whatever. So you must have quite a, not from what I see on your wall, but because you're wearing a Guns N' Roses shirt too, quite a
Sure.
collection of memorabilia. Do you have a lot of GNR memorabilia?
I do. I have, yeah, a lot of stuff. Not nearly as much as some of the stuff that you and I see on the groups and in the
Oh yeah, they're
internet, but yeah, I have quite a bit of stuff.
What's your favorite piece of memorabilia? You
My
have
favorite piece is probably the Izzy and Axel yearbook from Lafayette, Indiana.
really?
Yeah, I have a yearbook with Axel and Izzy and Paul Tobias also in the yearbook. Just young kids, pictures of Axel doing his choir. Um, yeah, I bought that thing probably 20 years ago and held on to it since. So I think it's probably one of my favorite things to have.
I absolutely. I'm really quite blown away with that. Where did you find it? Was it at a garage sale or
Uh, no, I bought it online. Somebody was selling it in an auction, and then yeah, it was probably like 2000, 2001. It popped back up there on the auction sites.
we got to? The thing is though, and obviously this is near impossible. You got to get them to sign their yearbook.
Oh, if I could, yeah,
I know, right? Isn't that the ultimate
yeah,
thing? Hey, Axel, could you sign my yearbook? It's
that would be amazing.
ah,
Yeah,
too cool, too cool. Do you have
try
any
to lug that thing around, but
do your friends or family understand your GNR obsession or how is that perceived amongst your peers?
they might think it's a little weird. They might, yeah. Several, you know, I don't know. They know I've been a fan for years. I mean, even some of my older friends, um, who I haven't seen in many years, they're like, well, he's still the same as he was back then. Several, like I told you earlier, I was in the Navy, so several friends I haven't seen for several years, they'll remember, oh man, he was into that band back in 2000, back in 2001. There wasn't huge following still for them back then, so I think they kind of get it that it's just a band that they never get old. You can listen to the music, the videos. It just doesn't get old. It's always fun. They're just such a great band.
Agreed. I mean, it's why I'm doing one of the many reasons why I'm doing a podcast about them. And yes, before we went on the air, and I always ask this about all my listeners who come on. You're just a citizen. I don't have to probe too much into your life other than the GNR stuff. But you say you're doing some stuff with the Air Force now, and you used to be, be in the Navy. So I just think that's so cool that all your Navy buddies just, oh yeah, it's the GNR guy.
Yeah, that's probably how they remember it. Yeah. So
Well, that's why you're welcome here. This is where we all get to geek out about our fandom and kind of.
yeah, it's great. Absolutely amazing.
So, Erik, I mean, I thank you for coming on. Thank you for just being a fan of the podcast and
No,
following.
I love it. Love it.
And again, you're a regular citizen. So, do you have a Twitter handle you want to give out if you want to nerd out with GNR peeps, or you just work?
I just recently started that thing a couple of months ago.
Okay.
There's nothing on it.
All right. Well, if you see Erik P, comment what of appetite for distortions, the AFD show on Twitter, that's who you know. That's this guy, Erik Peecher. So thank you, Erik, for coming on.
Thanks, Brando. Thanks for having me, man. I had a blast.
Awesome. So of course, thanks again to Ginger, to Jane, to Maggie, and to every single one of you listening. However you're listening, if you're watching, yes, you're watching on YouTube. So please follow, subscribe, give a thumbs up, leave a review. iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, all that fun stuff. I could tell you the next episode because as we're recording this on 420, I'm recording in a few moments. Jeremy Spencer, former drummer of Five Finger Death Punch, he has a new band, the Psychosexual.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll talk about this with him. This is why I laugh at the stupid controversies about like Little Nas X and Satan shoes. And I'm like, I didn't make it like a meme, but I'm like Guns N' Roses fans. This is Guns N' Roses fans reacting to like a Satan controversy. And he was
Right.
Gary Oldman in the what was it? It was the spaghetti incident. I can't
No,
think-
since I don't have you, he was
Since
the
I- yeah,
devil, and
I-
since I don't have you.
Yeah, I already told a brain fart. Yeah, so he's the devil. He's laughing. I'm like, really? That's controversial? Get the fuck outta here, or whatever. So I'm sure I'll talk about that amongst many other things with Jeremy Spencer. Also,
That'd be awesome.
and just like Eric, follow on social media. That's how you can have an opportunity to be on an episode and interview your heroes with me. No, that's how you do it. So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that fun stuff. So until the next one, when are you going to see it? Who is the next guest going to be? In the words of Axl Rose concerning Chinese democracy, you'll see it. I don't know if soon is the word.